Hi, I'm Justin from Sophos Support. Today we'll be showing how to set up Microsoft Entra ID Sync. Microsoft Entra ID Sync is a web application that synchronizes Microsoft Entra objects to Sophos Central and is utilized by various products in the Sophos Central environment. I'll give a quick demonstration on how Entra ID Sync works. First, Entra ID Sync contacts the Entra application and provides the client's secret to authenticate. Afterwards, the Entra application now has the permissions to read Entra ID and also provides user and group information to Entra ID Sync. In this video, I'll go over some prerequisites for setting up Microsoft Entra ID Sync along with a few restrictions when using it. Then, I'll demonstrate how to configure Microsoft Entra along with some settings in Sophos Central. Before beginning, you must have a Microsoft Entra subscription and a working Microsoft Entra ID. Support can help integrate, but can only troubleshoot within the scope of our product. Next, a Microsoft Entra application and information that Sophos Central needs to communicate with Microsoft Entra ID must be present. You'll also need a directory read-all permission for that application to be present. Next, ensure that existing users or groups in Sophos Central have a Microsoft Entra ID match. If any users or groups don't match, you will need to manually manage them in Sophos Central. Lastly, ensure all Microsoft Entra ID users that need to be synchronized have an email address. If you're using Sophos email, this is essential for mailbox creation. Otherwise, any email that does not have a mailbox or alias will be rejected. There are also some restrictions with Microsoft Entra ID Sync. You can't synchronize multiple Microsoft Entra ID sources from the same domain. You also can't synchronize users or email addresses to multiple Sophos Central admin accounts. Users and email addresses must be unique in each Sophos Central admin account. Lastly, you can't synchronize users from the same domain using Active Directory and Microsoft Entra ID. Only one can be used at a time for a single domain. Let's get started with configuring Microsoft Entra. Installation is composed of two parts, the first being configuration within Microsoft Entra. First, navigate to the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. Click on Applications, then Enterprise Applications. Click on New Application, then click on Create Your Own Application. In the pop-up, enter a name for your application. I named mine Entra ID Sync. Select Register an application to integrate with Microsoft Entra ID and click Create. This will take you to the Register an application screen. Under the Supported Account Types section, select accounts in this organizational directory only. Next, under the Redirect URI section, ensure that the selected platform is set to Web. Then, enter the following as the redirect URI and click on Register. To confirm, go to App Registrations and click on All Applications. You should be able to see the newly registered application. Lastly, ensure you copy the application ID here, as we will need to enter this into the Sophos Central configuration later as the client ID. Next, we'll set up the client secret. Click on the application we just created. Then, click on Certificates and Secrets. Click on New Client Secret. In the pop-up screen, enter a description and set the expiry as 6 months or however long you want the secret to last. Finally, click on Add. You should now see it listed under the Client Secrets tab. Make sure you copy the value and expiry date somewhere, as these are part of what we need to enter into Sophos Central later. Next, we'll set the application permissions. This will tell Microsoft Entra what the application is permitted to do within the Entra ID environment. Click on API Permissions, and then click on Add a Permission. In the pop-up screen, under the tab APIs my organization uses, make sure you choose Microsoft Graph. Click on Application Permissions and search for Directory. Under Directory, enable Directory Read All, then click on Add Permissions. Note that the status of this permission shows not granted. What you'll need to do is click on Grant Admin Consent, then confirm by clicking Yes. Your status will update to display Granted Now. Now that everything has been configured in Microsoft Entra, we'll configure in Sophos Central next. In Sophos Central, go to General Settings. Next, click on Directory Service, then click Add Directory Service. In the pop-up screen, supply the relevant information. Then, click on Next. In the Settings tab, the Synchronization Schedule is where you can configure the frequency of the synchronization. If you select None, this means it will only occur when manually synchronized. Under Configure Microsoft Entra ID Sync Settings, enter the Microsoft Entra application ID in the client ID space. Then enter the domain you are synchronizing. Lastly, enter the client's secret and its expiration date. Now click on Test Connection. This is compulsory whenever you make changes under the Configure Microsoft Entra ID Sync settings section. Once the connection is verified as successful, click on OK. Under Select Users and Groups to include in the synchronization. You can make the synchronization more granular based on Group ID, Group Filter, or User Filter instead of all of them. We will discuss them later, but for now I'll leave it set to On Users and Groups. Now click on Save, then Turn On. Next, click on Synchronize. Once synchronized, the status will update to show how many users and groups were synchronized. Finally, to view the users and groups that were synchronized, go to Users and Groups, and filter for directory sync users. Let's go back to the Microsoft Entra ID config page. To modify any of the settings, you will have to disable the synchronization first. Next, navigate to the Select Users and Groups to include in the synchronization section. Aside from On Users and Groups, which will synchronize all the users it finds within the Microsoft Entra ID domain, you can choose other filters which work best for your use. Select Add Users by Group ID. Anytime you change the filter settings, you will get this warning. Click on Switch Filter Type to confirm the change. If adding users by Group ID, you just need to enter the object ID of a particular group where the users belong to. If adding users by Group Filter, this gives you more options to pick your intended users to synchronize. For example, if you select Display Name, you can filter by any desired display name that's entered. Lastly, adding users by User Filter will give you more control on what to synchronize. In this example, we are setting directory sync enabled equals true, user type equals member, with the logic set to any. This means we'll synchronize users with a user type of member or are directory sync enabled. Directory sync enabled means that these users were synchronized from on-premise AD. Try using different options to synchronize the users and groups you would like to display in Sophos Central. Note, if you have on-premise AD users that need to be synchronized, use Microsoft Entra Connect to synchronize them to Microsoft Entra ID, which is what Sophos Microsoft Entra ID communicates with. For more information, check the documentation linked in the video description. I hope you found this video useful. Check out the documentation for this video in the video description. For further assistance, view and post questions on community.sophos.com. And go to techvids.sophos.com for more great videos like this one.